The evening air was thick with the scent of rain-soaked pavement. Alex adjusted the strap of his bag, shifting its weight on his shoulder as he navigated the bustling street. The city lights flickered in the puddles at his feet, neon reflections stretching and breaking with each passing step. He had spent the day buried in work, his mind cluttered with emails, deadlines, and the monotony of routine. He longed for the solitude of his apartment, a warm shower, and the comfort of silence. Then he saw him. A man stood outside a small cafe, struggling with several oversized bags. His dark curls clung damply to his forehead, and his breath came in short, frustrated huffs. One bag slipped from his grip, landing with a dull thud against the wet pavement. Alex hesitated, watching for a moment as the man crouched down, clearly overwhelmed. "Hey, need a hand?" Alex asked, stepping forward. The man looked up, startled. His eyes, deep, expressive, carrying a weight Alex couldn't quite place, met his. There was hesitation, then something like relief. "Yeah, actually," the man admitted. "I think I overestimated my ability to carry all this." Alex bent down, picking up the fallen bag. It was heavier than expected, filled with books and what felt like personal belongings. Moving in, the man gave a lopsided smile. Something like that. They walked side by side, weaving through the damp evening streets. The city hummed around them. Car horns, distant laughter, the occasional rustling of wind through alleyways. The weight of the bags slowed their pace, but the quiet between them was comfortable. "I'm Alex, by the way. Daniel." There was something about Daniel's presence that intrigued Alex. He carried himself with an air of quiet resilience, yet there was an underlying unease in his expression, as though he was shouldering more than just heavy bags. As they reached Daniel's building, he sighed in relief. "I really appreciate this," he said, setting down the bags at the entrance. "I wasn't expecting to run into anyone this helpful." Alex smiled. "Right place, right time." Daniel hesitated, fingers tightening around the strap of one bag. Then, as if on impulse, he asked, "Do you want to come in for a coffee? It's the least I can do to say thanks." Alex wasn't sure why he agreed. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the flicker of something unspoken in Daniel's expression. Or maybe, after a long day of feeling invisible in the blur of city life, he welcomed the chance to be seen. "Yeah," Alex said finally. "Coffee sounds good." As he followed Daniel up the steps, he had no idea that a simple act of kindness was about to change everything. The apartment was modest but inviting. A faint scent of fresh coffee and old books lingered in the air, blending with the distant hum of city life beyond the window. Alex took a seat at the small dining table while Daniel busied himself in the kitchen, the quiet clinking of mugs filling the space between them. "So, what brings you to the city?" Alex asked, watching as Daniel poured steaming coffee into two mismatched cups. Daniel hesitated, his fingers tightening around the handle of the pot. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he set the cups down, took a deep breath, and sat across from Alex. "I needed a fresh start," he said finally. His voice was even, but there was a weight behind his words, something unspoken pressing against them. Alex nodded, sensing there was more. He didn't push. Instead, he lifted his cup, the warmth seeping into his palms. "A fresh start's always a good thing." Daniel let out a small, humorless laugh. "Sometimes," he murmured. He stared into his coffee, as if searching for the right words. Silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable but charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. Then finally Daniel spoke. "I left because of him." The words came quietly, but they carried an unmistakable finality. Alex's fingers tightened around his cup. He didn't need to ask who him was. "We were together for 3 years, Daniel continued, his gaze distant. "I thought he was my future. We had plans. An apartment, travel, even talked about getting a dog." He gave a soft chuckle, but it was hollow. "Turns out I wasn't his future. I was just convenient." Alex listened intently, his chest tightening at the rawness in Daniel's voice. "He had someone else," Daniel said, finally meeting Alex's eyes. "For almost a year." A whole year of lies, of empty I love yous, of waking up next to someone who was already planning his life with someone else. His jaw tensed. And I didn't even see it. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Alex had heard stories like this before, but something about the way Daniel told it, the quiet devastation, the way he held himself together like he was afraid of falling apart, made it different. I packed my bags the night I found out, Daniel continued. Didn't even give him the satisfaction of an argument. I just left. His lips pressed into a thin line. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay. Alex swallowed, his throat tight. I'm sorry, he said, the words feeling insufficient. Daniel exhaled. A slow, shaky breath. Yeah, me too. For the first time, he looked truly vulnerable. And for the first time, Alex felt something shift between them. An understanding, connection, something fragile but undeniable. And yet, beneath it all, something still didn't feel right. The days that followed blurred into something unexpectedly comfortable. Daniel and Alex fell into an unspoken rhythm. Morning coffee runs, late-night conversations, walks through the city where the world felt quieter and their words felt heavier. It wasn't just companionship. It was a fragile sanctuary, a space where Alex found himself opening up in ways he hadn't in years. Daniel had a way of making him feel seen. Not just acknowledged, but truly seen. His laughter, once guarded, became more frequent. His touch, accidental brushes of hands, a lingering squeeze on the shoulder, became familiar. Alex, cautious by nature, found himself lowering his defenses, piece by piece. Then came the night that changed everything. It started with a simple dinner. Daniel invited Alex over, claiming he wanted to cook as a thank you for his kindness. The apartment, usually dimly lit and sparse, felt different that evening. Candles flickered on the table. A soft melody played from an old speaker. The air smelled of roasted garlic and fresh basil, rich and inviting. I didn't know you could cook, Alex teased as he took a seat. Daniel smirked, pouring them both a glass of wine. There's a lot you don't know about me. They ate, they laughed, they talked. About childhood memories, about places they wanted to visit, about the strange beauty of second chances. As the night deepened, so did the atmosphere between them. The pauses in their conversation grew longer, but not from discomfort, from something unspoken hanging in the air. When Daniel reached for his hand, Alex didn't pull away. For a moment, time seemed to slow. The hum of the city outside faded. All Alex could feel was the warmth of Daniel's palm against his. The way his thumb traced small circles over his skin. The way his gaze darkened with something unreadable. Then Daniel leaned in. The kiss was slow, tentative, like a question neither of them had the words to ask. Alex's heart pounded in his chest, and for the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to believe in the possibility of something real. But just as quickly as the moment had arrived, something shifted. Daniel pulled away first. His expression flickered, hesitation, doubt, something almost like regret. It was subtle, but Alex caught it. A split-second hesitation, a shadow behind his eyes. And just like that, the warmth in Alex's chest cooled. He didn't say anything. He didn't ask what was wrong. But as Daniel refilled his wine glass with a hand that wasn't quite steady, Alex felt it. A shift. A warning. Something was wrong. He just didn't know what yet. The unease settled in Alex's chest like a weight that wouldn't lift. He wanted to ignore it, to believe that Daniel's hesitation was nothing more than the nerves of a man learning to trust again. But doubt had a way of whispering in the quiet moments, and Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Then, one evening, everything unraveled. Alex hadn't planned to stop by Daniel's apartment unannounced. He had been passing through the neighborhood after a late shift, his feet carrying him there before his mind had fully decided. As he reached Daniel's door, he heard voices inside, muffled but distinct. He wasn't alone. Alex's pulse quickened. He wasn't the jealous type, but something in the tone of the conversation made him pause. He took a step closer, straining to hear. I just needed a distraction, Daniel's voice said. It was quieter than usual, as if he were trying not to be overheard. A pause. Then another voice, softer, responding, so, was he just a rebound? Alex's stomach dropped. His fingers curled into fists at his sides as he waited for Daniel's answer, hoping, praying, that there would be some kind of denial, some explanation that would undo the knot forming in his chest. Instead, Daniel sighed. I didn't mean to hurt him, but yeah, I wasn't ready for something serious. The words landed like a punch to the gut. Alex staggered back, his breath coming in short, sharp bursts. The walls around him suddenly felt too close, the air too thin. He had been so careful, so hesitant to believe in something real again, and yet here he was, placeholder, a temporary fix for someone else's brokenness. For a brief, reckless moment, he considered barging in, demanding an explanation. But what would be the point? He had his answer. Daniel had never truly seen him, not the way Alex had wanted him to. Instead, Alex did the only thing he could. He turned and walked away. The night air was cold against his skin, but it did little to numb the ache spreading through his chest. He kept walking, his mind replaying every moment. The stolen glances, the lingering touches, the hesitation in Daniel's eyes after their kiss. The signs had been there all along. He just hadn't wanted to see them. By the time he reached his apartment, his decision was made. He deleted Daniel's number, blocked him. No messages, no explanations, no goodbyes. Sitting in the dim light of his living room, he exhaled deeply, the weight in his chest slowly loosening. It hurt. God, it hurt. But he wasn't going to let it break him. Daniel had been a lesson, not a loss. And one day, when the right person came along, Alex would be ready. This time, he wouldn't settle for almost.